Motherhood was the gateway to entrepreneurship for me. I always talk about how motherhood and entrepreneurship are kind of the same because you have this baby, you're walking out of the hospital, no one's handing you an instruction manual. Every single day is like a challenge. It's total white space. You got to figure out how to make this person like a good human being. The kind of highs and lows of entrepreneurship are very similar to the highs and lows of motherhood. And I think motherhood gave me the strength and kind of the know-how, how to approach it.
That's Kate Torgersen, the creator of the first breast milk shipping company, Milk Stork. And this is Make Yourself at Home, the podcast that takes you into the homes of people you admire to show you a side you don't usually get to see. I'm Kristen Twyford, and every week we'll talk to someone at the top of their career to explore holistic success and how work and home are inextricably intertwined. Along the way, we hope to inspire you to live well, whatever that means to you. Make Yourself at Home is presented by Nines, the household management app designed to help you manage your home and everything that comes with it, so you can live with ease. Today, we're in Kate Torgersen's home in Lafayette, California, talking about committing to a new business while standing on a pile of Hot Wheels, why she doesn't believe in work-life balance, and how, for her, motherhood was the gateway to entrepreneurship. Kate had the idea for Milk Stork on her first business trip after giving birth to twins, when she was stopped at TSA and forced to dump out the ice for 2 gallons of breast milk. With 3 kids under 3 and a full-time job at Clif Bar, she started building Milk Stork at night during her pumping sessions. Since 2015, the company has completed more than 82,000 deliveries and shipped more than 5 million ounces of breast milk, including 21 gallons for athletes and other parents working at the 2021 Olympic Games. Kate is a trailblazer, and she's also treasurer for her daughter's Girl Scout troop, a former ski instructor who's always trying to find more time outside, and a mom who hopes her kids have an easier time as working parents than she did. Make Yourself at Home with Kate Torgersen. Kate, thank you so much for having us into your home. Tell us a little bit about where you're sitting today and tell us a little bit about your home and why you love it.
I am sitting in the everything space. This is the playroom space. This is the Peloton space. This is the work from home space. And especially during COVID, this was like the entertainment area. And it's kind of an escape room. Like if you needed to get away from the rest of the family, you would come in here to jump on the Peloton or escape the twins and my older son. What I love about my home is I love the area that we live in, the neighborhood that we live in. We live in we're in the suburbs, but it's a very rural suburb area. So we have a lot of wildlife that cruises by. I saw a fox just outside this window the other day, which is pretty cool. I love our neighbors. I'm right across from my kids' school. So our house is really just situated in a really nice place. And I can go for a trail run right across the street. So
that's awesome.
Awesome location. Location.
What does home mean to you?
Oh, home means, it's an interesting relationship with home for the last couple of years. I think now home means comfort, kind of renewal. I feel when I come home, I just feel like calm, peace.
Yeah.
So I think, that's new. That's a new feeling for 2 years during COVID. Home meant stress, lots of people, lots of activity, cleaning up messes. But I think we've transitioned now to back to restorative, peaceful, calm. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you think your relationship with home has changed over time? I feel like we've all been through that over the last couple of years.
Yeah. I think that home has changed. I mean, home became everything. I mean, home was like our entertainment. I think since 2020, home was our restaurant. It was our entertainment. It it had to be everything. And it was interesting because we ended up we didn't actually build, but we built out into certain areas. Like our porch became a workspace just so that we could we could go somewhere.
Yes.
Because we couldn't go to an office or a cafe anymore. So I think it changed. And some of the things that haven't changed are, now it's still our gym. We still work from the porch. There's still we took some of those things that seem so hard during COVID, and we have now incorporated them into our living, and it's actually really great.
Yeah.
So
isn't that crazy how it just kind of changed everything?
Yeah, it changed everything. I mean, we were doing classrooms from the kitchen table. I'm really glad that's over. This did not operate well as a school. So that one, I'm super happy that we jettisoned. But the gym, working from the porch, all of that's something that we're going to keep.
Yeah, absolutely.
School can go back to school.
Right. Yes, it doesn't need to be everything. It can be a lot of things, but it doesn't need to be that.
It can be some things, but it doesn't have to be everything anymore.
Exactly. Well, on this show, we love to explore that relationship between home and work and sort of how everything has really become so intertwined now. And I think that's the perfect starting point for our conversation. And I think your story is such a great example of how life and work really are intertwined. And so you had the idea for Milk Stork on your first business trip after having your twins. Take us back to that moment and what you were going through on that trip that really led to that idea.
Yeah. So with the twins, so I have 3 kids. I have a singleton. That's what you call it when you actually have one kid at a time.
That's good to know.
So I have an older singleton, and then I have the twins. With my older child, when I was breastfeeding, it was really an amazing experience. No problems, no glitches, great latch, like perfect breastfeeding journey. I then had the twins and I was tandem nursing, and it was a huge challenge. We had tongue ties and weight gain issues and latching issues, and not to just mention the logistics of feeding 2 human beings. So it was a really challenging journey. But through it all, we managed to continue the breastfeeding relationship. So when this business trip came up, I was really stressed about how I was going to make it work. Because the thing about breastfeeding is that you're producing exactly what your kids need. So you can't, you can't really produce more milk than, to stockpile. And you can't stop pumping while you're away. So you kind of have to continue along the track of pumping for every nursing session that they're missing, and then figure out a way to give your partner or caregiver enough milk to cover your absence. So I was really struggling with that. And I was producing a gallon of milk every 2 days. So a half gallon of milk every day. It was a lot of milk. And I could have easily not taken the trip. I was working for Clif Bar, great family-friendly company. They would have understood. But for me, it meant opting out of something that was important to me professionally. So I wanted to make it work. I ended up adding pumping sessions like weeks in advance to try to convince my body to produce more milk so I could stash it. I then went on the trip and I pumped every 3 hours, including the middle of the night, to maintain my ability to lactate. And then that generated another 2 gallons of breast milk that I had to bring through TSA. And I got to TSA. It was like 26 pounds of ice and milk. They asked me why I had so much milk. I had to dump out my ice. Then I had to find ice in the terminal. It was just a huge pain. So it was kind of like leading up to the TSA line, after the TSA line, and on the flight home, that I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this. If I could just get the milk home, it would solve all these problems. Right. So literally the next day I got to work on my Milk Stork.
And I just think there's so many amazing parts of this. Number one, that you were so committed to breastfeeding. I know that was something that was really important to you, and you weren't going to stop just because you were going on this trip. You weren't going to sacrifice this opportunity to go on this trip. And then in that moment when you're in the TSA line, I can't imagine the frustration that you were feeling. And then channeling that into this business idea is such a productive way of handling that. I mean, how are you feeling when you're standing in that TSA line?
Rage. I was feeling rage. Rage is a great motivator for innovation. I felt frustrated, angry, humiliated. And I have to say, you talk to any pumping mom or any pumping person, and if they've gone through TSA, they feel that anxiety that I felt. And so, I'm only one of millions of women that have had to deal with that, or millions of pumping people who have had to deal with that. It's exponentially painful.
Yeah, exactly. you had this idea. Meanwhile, you have a full-time job. You had grown with Clif Bar. You had been with them for a long time. You had, worked your way up there and really grown with the company. And you had 3 kids, I think under the age of 4, right?
Under the age of 3.
Under the age of 3. 3 kids under the age of 3. So, and then the next day you have this business idea. Was it just a calling and no hesitation? You just knew you had to do it? Or was there a moment where you paused and you thought, is this really the right time for this? Can I handle this right now?
I felt compelled.
Yeah.
I felt on fire, like I had to solve it. I remember I felt that way, but I also had 3 kids. I have a husband. I had, there's other stakeholders in this decision for sure. So I remember having the conversation with my husband. I was literally standing in a pile of Hot Wheels, and he was holding one of the babies and I was holding the other baby. And I don't know what Jax, our toddler at that time, was doing. And I was like, I think I need to solve this. I need to, I'm going to act on this. And he was he was kind of like, right now you have to do this. Can we do this in a couple of years? Right. But I just felt, if not now, when? And if not me, who? Someone's got to solve this. So,
And, I think you mentioned this during our pre-interview call about when things are comfortable, it's almost harder to start something.
Yeah.
Why do you feel
pain is a
that
great I think pain, and this sounds really negative, but I don't think it is. But pain and anger are great motivators. I really felt like this was an injustice, and not just to me personally, but to ambitious women and people who are committed to feeding their children and having a choice. So I would also say, I'm not against formula in any way, but I think people should have the choice on how they want to feed their baby and not have false choices, where you're making compromises that you shouldn't have to make. So for me, I weirdly believed that I could solve it, which was, I don't know where that came from. I believed that I could solve it. And if I was going to do my best to try to do it. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a plan, but I was just going to go for it.
And how did you find the time?
So I really wasn't sleeping much in those years. And I think I was actually really lucky because I was already used to kind of this sleep deprivation that I was in. I mean, major sleep deprivation with twins, major. So the time was when the kids went to bed. I worked on it. I worked on it when they were asleep. I worked on it to the wee hours of the night, and I did that for 3 years. For 3 years, I did it in the night. I was doing contracts at night.
Oh my gosh. And it sounds like your husband was really bought in. And then I know your dad was a good partner for you during that time too. What did that mean to have that support from your family? Okay, let's solve this together. How did those conversations go?
I think with my dad, he was the first person I called when I had the idea. I was like, if we could just figure out how to get the milk home and ship it home, it would solve so many problems. And he was like, where do we start? So he was great because he was daylight hours. He was trying, he was working, he was trying to figure out how this whole thing was going to work. He was doing the legwork. I was imagining and kind of doing branding stuff and first early days of clients at night and stuff. But he really was figuring out all the logistics, the e-commerce stuff, how that was going to work. My husband, he was working in kind of outsourced accounting at that point. And so he actually had a lot of resources to help us, just contacts, insurance, bank account, he had kind of access to the startup world and could give me people who I could talk to tell me what to do.
Right.
How do you get a bank account? What kind of insurance do I need? So he had a lot of resources that he could connect me to that were really, really helpful in those early days.
Yeah, that makes sense. And today, Milk Stork has such a name, and it is the brand that I think you were imagining in those late night sessions. And you've helped so many moms change their lives, including some Olympians being able to send breast milk home to their kids, even during the Olympics. So what does it mean to you now, thinking back to that mom in the TSA line and how you felt in that moment, to be able to help other moms pursue what they want to pursue, both professionally and personally?
I mean, it's everything. I get in-mails in my LinkedIn about just out of the blue where moms were like, I'm in sales and I was able to breastfeed longer than I thought I would. It's tremendously rewarding. And it feels, that's what success feels like to me, is that people use this product to solve really personal challenges, and it's bringing value to their lives and to their families. So I couldn't define success in any better way.
Yep. Way at the beginning of your career, before you had kids, what kind of life did you want for yourself? And could you imagine the life that you have
now? No, I did not think business was I thought I was going to be like a ski instructor in the winter and a archaeologist in the summer. I thought I was going to have a life in the outdoors. And I did for a long time.
Yeah.
I never considered, I didn't take any business classes in college. I took archaeology classes. I was going down a much more kind of outdoorsy intellectual route. I was not going to start a business, but I ended up, that outdoorsy world ended up taking me to Clif Bar, and Clif Bar introduced me to kind of the adventure element of business through Gary and Kit, the owners of Clif Bar, who have a strong commitment to adventure, who were outdoorsy people. And I began to appreciate business in the same kind of lens that I appreciated outdoor adventure. It makes sense, but it doesn't make sense, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. It does. And did you think you wanted to have kids eventually, or was that something that was kind of unplanned too?
Well, because I imagined that I was going to be a ski instructor in the winter and an archaeologist in the summer, and I'd be traveling to all these amazing digs and all of that, I really didn't think about kids. I think I was about 30 when I was like, I kind of, I taught skiing. I taught kids skiing for a long time, and I loved working with those kids. And I was like, maybe I want some of these myself. These guys are pretty cool and they're fun and they make life a little bit more exciting. And so I think that was my first contact with kids, and I think that's kind of when I started thinking oh, kids would actually be pretty fun.
Yeah.
and
they are. And it's amazing how your kids really were sort of the key to entrepreneurship for you too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I actually don't think that I would have started Milk Stork if I hadn't had twins, because the pain point of all that milk was so acute and ginormous. If it had been less milk, I might have just been kind of oh, that sucks, and tough it out through TSA. I think it was the volume of milk generated by twins that really kind of set the course for Milk Stork. Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. I want to talk to you about mom guilt, because I think it's something that so many moms struggle with, and so many parents in general struggle with. They feel this guilt in the how do I spend enough time with my kids? How do I, do what I want to do and sort of create a balance between all of that? Is it something that you've ever struggled with? And what is your mindset around, parenting guilt?
Gosh, I don't really have, there's a few things that I have mom guilt about. I don't love cooking at all. And so my kids do not, I don't enjoy it. I don't like it. I don't like cooking. And they get a lot of takeout, and they get a lot of restaurant meals and a lot of quesadillas and apples, or scrambled eggs for dinner. And
quesadillas are the best. So
I have a little bit of mom guilt that they don't have two parents who love cooking and want to sit down and have glorious meals together. Yeah. But it's more, I don't have it for working. I don't have mom guilt for working. I feel I want my kids to, I want to demonstrate to them that they can work, they can pursue a career in something that they care about. Whether that's teaching kids to ski or working at a place that has the same values as you, like Clif Bar, or building your own thing. So I feel like that's an investment in my kids' future, not something that I should feel guilty for. Yeah. And I try not to I drive them everywhere to games, so I don't feel like I'm missing out on kind of these magic moments that they're having. I really do. My husband and I really do make an effort to be really good spectators to their activities.
Yeah.
So
What have you learned as you've, built this business and raised your kids and talked to so many other parents, building this, that you would share with other parents, who might be struggling to find the right balance in their own lives?
I think the thing that I learned from twins,
because
with Jax, my oldest, I was like, oh, we're going to do cloth diapers, and we're going to only do organic pea purees. And like, we're going to do this perfectly. And then twins come and you're like, your world just explodes. I mean, It was like a triage situation. And I learned that compromises won't be made. Yeah. I had a friend who, after I had twins, she was pregnant with twins. She also had an older child, and she was talking to me about cloth diapers. And I'm like, it's okay if you don't do cloth diapers. Like, I appreciate your effort. And maybe you do a few cloth diapers, but I'm like, I want you to put a Post-it on your refrigerator that says compromises will be made, and it's okay. It's not a zero-sum game. Like, they're going to be okay. They're going to be fine. Mm-hmm. You just have to love them, make sure that they know that you love them, and be present with them.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy that just telling them that you love them really is the one thing that matters the most?
Yeah. Just hug them every day. Tell them you love them. Tell them that they're hard, whatever they're actually doing, because they do actually have to do it to be praised for it. You're hardworking, you made a great effort at that, mm-hmm. Acknowledge the things that they're trying and doing.
Yep. What are some ways that you really are present for them or show them that you're, being present?
I mean, gosh, I have my daughter, every single day. It's difficult, has this big imagination and something that she wants to make. I am not, I guess, mom guilt. I'm not always up for trying to make a calculator out of cardboard or something like that. Or she wanted to make one of those old fashioned train, like the guys with the tokens that shoot the quarters out of that belt thing. She wanted to make that out of cardboard. So I try to make time for those specific things, or like they'll come to you in a moment of inconvenience where I want to make a cardboard coin dispenser, and I'm like, let's schedule that for tomorrow at this time. So helping them like find the right time. Like, I can't be present. I can't be present when I'm not able to be present. So we really do have to be conscious of making sure that those times are almost not scheduled, but like that I'm available to do that with her.
Yeah. And you're purposeful about your time.
Yes. The other thing is that my husband and I, he's really great at cardboard coin dispensers. So like making, we do trade off. There's 3 kids and 2 of us. So we have to play zone.
Yeah, that makes sense. What's your take on work-life balance?
I don't think it exists. And I think work-life complexity exists. And we do the best we can to manage that. Some days work is cranking and the kids are sick. Some days the kids are, all, doing, on their own, doing great things. And like, work is hard. I have to jump out to take someone to the doctor. There's just no way to like put a clean line between the two and say that they're balanced. Some days work gets more of my attention than the kids. Sometimes the kids get more of my attention than work. Mm-hmm. Just the reality of being a working parent.
Yeah. Do you find that other parents, now that you've started this business with Milk Stork and you've really built this sort of purpose-driven career for yourself, do you find that other parents are coming to you for advice and asking you how to handle work-life balance or work-life complexity?
I do get asked about work-life balance a lot.
Yeah.
I don't think other male founders get asked. I don't think dad founders get asked that question as much. And I'm always going to say that it doesn't exist. And it certainly does. The past 2 years, it annihilated work-life balance. Which I think is good, because I don't think it will. I think we all got to see visibly how complicated and hard being a working parent is over the past 2 years. And I hope we never lose sight of what we witnessed in the tiny Zoom frames that we had. And I don't think that we can go back. I don't think there's going back. And I think the other thing that was great, another great takeaway from COVID about work-life complexity is that we saw working fatherhood for the first time, which was largely invisible before. And I think it's an opportunity for working fatherhood to also be kind of like addressing, like speaking their truth about work life complexity.
Definitely.
So,
do you think that has changed how we think about work-life fatherhood? I think there's certainly more awareness around that now and people are seeing it more. Do you think that, as you've talked to moms, are more fathers sort of stepping up in some of the childcare? Is it more sort of equal, or do you think it's sort of shed a light on, some of the inequalities in the home?
I think both.
Mm-hmm.
I think that men can live fully in the identity of working parenthood, or live more fully in that. But I think the systems are still working against women. The reality is that working mothers get paid way less.
Mm-hmm.
There's a motherhood penalty. There's a fatherhood raise. And until that alone, in a household, when one parent makes more than the other, kind of on a systematic basis, the sacrifice is always going to fall on the person who's, earning less. Mm-hmm. So there's certain kind of systemic things that still need to be addressed and have not been fixed. I think childcare, that's the other thing, is it still falls under women a lot. I mean, and we're talking about very gendered. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's families that, are not in these kind of male, female, right, man, woman kind of identities. But I think there's just certain systemic things that affect households, no matter how much the parents are trying to solve for it.
Definitely. And Milk Stork is sort of challenging some of our assumptions and challenging some of the systems that we already have. What systems would you love to see change? What things?
Paid leave. Yeah. I would love to see paid leave. I would love to see it for both parents.
Yeah.
I think it's unbelievable to me that the United States doesn't have it. It's also incredibly difficult for small businesses to be the ones that offer paid leave. So right now, companies are picking up a lot of the, especially during COVID, we saw like childcare. Everything it came through having a job. Health insurance comes through having a job. All of this, like, there needs to be better investment in families, starting with paid leave. I'd love to see, more lactation benefits in companies. There's still women pumping in closets, in bathrooms. Women are still, navigating the world, pumping in corners. There's still kind of a weird, the society has a weird relationship with pumping and breastfeeding. We're still kind of dealing with the objectification of women, and that has a direct relationship on women's access to pumping areas. And getting through TSA is still not easy. Hasn't changed that much. So that being said, I see a lot of companies that are really motivated to help working parents. More, the companies that Milk Stork works with, these companies recognize the value of working parenthood. They understand the challenges of it, and they're investing in it to solve problems for parents and provide resources for parents. So I see the best of the best, but I still am aware of the horror stories of those that don't have the support that they need.
Yeah. What's one change that you've seen, or one story that you've seen that you've just found really, like, that's a remarkable step forward?
I think offering breast milk shipping at companies is a remarkable step forward. Yeah. I never thought that Milk Stork would be able to sell into an enterprise account, because I didn't think that I could make a business case for it.
Yeah.
And the fact that companies are willing to help women on their feeding journey, I never expected that. So that's huge. So even like hospital grade breast pumps, like, I've seen a huge amount of, for all the horror stories that I hear about, there's been tremendous strides in providing women with those kinds of supports at work.
Absolutely. And I think it's amazing that you are really helping to bring these conversations to the forefront, because it's so rare that people have these conversations, especially in a work setting. If you really think about, somebody who's pumping, that's like a quiet struggle that most people go through. It's not something that they're talking about at work as much.
Well, I think actually most of the credit goes to the parents. These are millennial parents, so they're the most informed parents to ever walk the face of the earth in terms of understanding. And most recent, like, they are on the internet, they get it. They're vocal about what their needs are, and they have high expectations for the benefits that they should get as a working person. And that translates to their experience as working parents. So what we saw was that moms would use Milk Stork, go to their employers and rightfully ask the employer to reimburse them. Often they're going to someone in HR, probably a parent themselves, who understands the pain point, and they're like, this is a no-brainer. So I think there was a we call it a flywheel of moms who were they were speaking truth to power about it. And then those employers would come to us and we'd have the conversation. But it's been the parents who have done the legwork.
Yep.
For sure.
Switching gears a little bit, thinking more about, how you're living today and sort of how your view of success has changed over time. What do you see a successful future for yourself and for your family?
I mean, I feel like I'm living the success now. I don't see it as being anything different in the future other than maybe being able to help more families. I think for my kids, my hope for, a good future is that they don't have these pain points, that my daughter doesn't ever pump in a bathroom, that my sons have fulfilling working fatherhood experiences and deep, wonderful relationships with their children. So I hope that the work that I'm doing now translates into a better future for them. And I think in the upcoming years and decades, it's really about helping more people. And, we only support a tiny fraction of companies in the US. There's way more companies that we need to talk to and way more moms who need lactation support. So.
And what do you find you're always striving to make more time for today? Your kids have grown up a
myself.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm unusual in that, when the time is only so many hours in the day. And most of the time I don't have the time for the long run that I wanted to take, or the book that I wanted to read. So yeah, I get kind of the short end of the stick for sure.
Yeah. And so thinking about that, what do those moments of time to yourself give you?
Mental space. So, and being outside. I think one of the, I spent in my 20s, I spent a lot of time outside, and I really miss being outside. So a long run outside, skiing outside. Those, when I think about me time, I automatically think I'm outside.
How do you think, getting back to that sort of initial topic of home and success, how do you think your home and your personal life have really fueled your success? And then in turn, how do you think your professional success has changed your life outside of work?
How do I think my home has changed my professional life? Well, I mean, when I'm using the word home, I'm incorporating my family in that. I 100% would not be an entrepreneur if I did not have motherhood was the gateway to entrepreneurship for me, 100%. And it gave me, I always talk about how motherhood and entrepreneurship are kind of the same, because you have this baby, you're walking out of the hospital, no one's handing you an instruction manual. Every single day is like a challenge. It's total white space. You got to figure out how to make this person like a good human being, over 18 years. So I feel like the kind of highs and lows of entrepreneurship are very similar to the highs and lows of motherhood. And I think motherhood gave me the strength and kind of the know-how to how to approach it. So that my family and my home have been that. I think my home has given me the space to create. I built Milk Stork in my home. I continue to grow Milk Stork in my home. It's kind of the shell of where I draw inspiration from. Most of the metaphors that I use when I'm talking to my team have to do with Legos and, the thing I draw upon watching my kids play and how they take on challenges. I there's a lot of, even when they're taking on challenges with sports or something, I'm talking often through the lens of entrepreneurship with them. So they're just all kind of blended together.
Yeah. Can you think of an example of a time that you've shared a story of your kids playing with your team and said, this is how we need to think about this?
We all have our Legos. We're going to build, that there's a mess, that there's messiness in building.
Yeah.
It's not like if you give a kid a bin of Legos, they're not going to color code them first and then start building. They're going to build from the mess. So, to be okay with just the human kind of messiness of creation and creating things and building things. Because I think too, there's this it wasn't at the beginning of my career, I didn't see it as much, and it's probably because I'm getting older. But there's this kind of younger philosophy of work that's very process oriented, very everything's organized, and I just kind of embrace that things can come out of chaos a little bit. Let's embrace a little bit of chaos, and humanity in the way that we are building things.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I've taken from entrepreneurship and shared with my kids is, my kids do a ton of sports. They're trying new sports. Sometimes they don't like a sport when they try it out. And my aunt, can I quit? And I was like, you never get to quit at the beginning of a learning curve. You can quit after you've had some time and you've gotten to know this experience and you see where you excel or where you're held back, but you don't get to quit at the beginning of a learning curve.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that you have coached your kids' sports teams too, right? What do you think that does for you and gives you back?
I don't know. No, I thought I coached my son's soccer team. It was great. It was I couldn't let work run away with me. I had to it wasn't just my son. It was his whole team that I had to show up for. I was able to show them kind of a former version of myself that used to play soccer, seeing me do something that they haven't actually seen me do on a daily basis. They see me work every day, but they didn't see me play soccer every day. So it was nice to just kind of reveal a different part of myself that they hadn't seen before.
Mm-hmm. And your troop treasurer too, right? For your daughter's Girl Scouts?
Yeah. For Girl Scouts, it's really, that spreadsheet gives me much anxiety. But it's been good. I think for my daughter who, she has two brothers, it's nice for her to have this community of girls that she doesn't always have inside her house.
Yeah.
Nor do I. So it's a place for us to go and be with other girls.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And women.
Thinking about, what you said about chaos, do you think that you were ever comfortable with chaos early on, or is that something that you've really gotten used to over time?
No, I'm very comfortable with chaos. I really am. I feel better, and I feel I went. Part of my background is I went to art school. I feel really good about sitting in a room and making something out of nothing. I feel really comfortable exploring things and kind of feeling around. I feel really comfortable. I don't think. When I think of my time, in outdoor adventures and stuff, whether skiing or mountain biking, I never got into a situation that I didn't think I could get out of. So for me, I feel very comfortable in that. I feel more uncomfortable when I'm having to work in a certain formal process. That's much harder for me.
Mm-hmm. If you think about your life today and the success that you've achieved and the happiness that you've achieved, do you feel like there was a moment or a turning point or a decision in your life that really kind of sets you on the right path?
Yeah, I do. So as I mentioned, I was a ski instructor. I was living in Tahoe, and I knew that I had to get a quote unquote real job because I was getting a lot of pressure from my parents to get a real job. And so I started applying at these companies. I looked around my room and I was like, I'm going to apply to the ski company. I'm going to apply to this helmet company. I'm going to apply to the North Face. I'm going to apply to Clif Bar, and sent in paper resumes that I wrote, typed to whom it may concern in an envelope to whom it may concern, just sent them out. And during that time, I also I wasn't getting any bites, as you can imagine. So I started applying to companies like law firms and like these more formal places. And I remember going into a law firm, and at that time we wore nylons, and I had to wear nylons. I was like, I don't know if I could do this every day.
It's a big change from being a ski instructor.
Yeah, it was like, I'm going to like run out of outfits in 3 days. Right. I don't know what I could possibly wear here every single day. And I turned down a job at a very good like law firm. I had said that I was going to take the LSAT. Like I was trying to imagine this like professional world for myself.
Yeah.
And at that time I had gotten a call back from Clif Bar to come in for an interview. And I walked in the doors and I was like, okay, if I have to have a real job, it can be here. Like people were wearing fleece, they were happy, they were laughing, there were dogs in the office. And it felt like, okay, I can now envision a kind of like a more professional kind of like business job in this, if it exists in this way. But I knew that I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it the other way. It needed to reflect my values.
Mm-hmm. And what I think is really cool about that is it was something that was very true to yourself. You recognized yourself in that Clif Bar team, and it felt off being at that law firm. And now you've been able to help so many women be true to themselves, by helping them achieve everything that they want to do through your company, which is very cool.
No compromises, whether it's lactation or pantyhose.
I like that. That's a very good mantra.
No compromises. Yeah. And no compromises for working parenthood. Like, yeah.
Awesome. Well, I want to get into our lightning round of fun questions. So the first one is, what's the first thing you do when you get home?
I take my shoes off. I hate shoes. And I put on a pair of sweats.
Yep.
Which I'm probably already wearing, but let's just assume that I'm wearing some like jeans or something. Then I would put on sweats.
Yep. Great answer.
Shoes off. Yeah.
Definitely shoes off. I'm with you. What's something in your home that makes your life easier?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know.
Doesn't have to be an object. It could be a decision you've made, some kind of service, some kind of ritual that you guys do. It could be anything.
This is really specific. We signed up for a kitty litter subscription.
Love
and
that.
I love it. And I love it. Kitty poo club. That makes my life easier.
Is it just litter delivery, or they take care of the whole deal?
It's a litter box delivery because I have a very finicky cat. And if he doesn't have a perfect litter box situation, he's a bad cat. And he'll pee in the house. So kitty poo club I cannot say enough good things about it.
Great shout out.
I know that's very gross and specific, but it makes my life a lot easier.
I love a specific answer. I think that's perfect. What's your household pet peeve?
Oh, God. Every surface has stuff on it. Every surface. I'm looking at surfaces right now, and I'm like looking at a stuffy that's on the kitchen table. There's like a Lego kit over here. Like just stuff. There's no surface that doesn't have stuff like attracted to it.
Yep. How about a kid's toy that you love and a kid's toy that you hate?
There's a lot of kids' toys I hate. I'm looking at one right now. The Bop It. I'm going to show it to you. I hate this toy so much.
I had a Bop It. Did you ever have a Bop It?
No. I hate this toy.
It's changed a lot.
This toy is terrible. It's loud. And so that's a toy I hate. I hate loud plastic toys. A toy that I love. So this is a plastic toy, but I love Legos. I think Legos are amazing. They're just, you can just dump Legos out, and it doesn't matter how old they are, they'll build something.
Yeah. So that's an awesome one.
Yeah.
If you could give up one household chore for the rest of your life, what would it be?
If I could give up one household chore for the rest of my life, unloading the dishwasher. I don't love it.
Yep.
I'd rather fold laundry than empty the dishwasher.
That was going to be my next question. What's one that you don't mind doing or that you actually like doing?
It's funny. I don't like unloading the dishwasher, but I don't like the dishwasher, but I kind of enjoy washing dishes, which is weird.
I feel the same, actually. It's a very different, something about it is different. It's more
There's
soothing to
nothing
wash the dishes.
Yeah. And I can look out the window and I can see the hummingbirds. Like, I think I don't mind washing the dishes. Folding, doing laundry, I don't mind. I mean, folding. The putting away part is where there's friction.
Yeah.
Like, I don't enjoy the putting away part. I enjoy like the cleaning part, but not like that's satisfying when things become clean. But the just putting stuff back on shelves is like not satisfying.
Yes. It's some kind, there's something different about it.
Yeah.
There's no soothing about it. Yeah. No, I'm with you.
I also like mopping. I like mopping the hardwoods. That's satisfying.
Nice. That's a fun one.
I need to see like something was dirty and now it is clean.
Yes. There's something very rewarding about that.
It's like therapeutic. Yeah.
What's one of your simple pleasures?
Sitting on my porch and just sitting there and watching the wind and the leaves and the hummingbirds and just sitting on my porch on a sunny day or even on a rainy day. It's like, I just love sitting outside.
Who's someone you admire who you think really lives well?
Oh gosh. Lives well? I mean, somebody I admire from afar, I guess, is Yvon Chouinard, who just gave away his company and just lives his values. Yes. I'm sure he lives a very comfortable life, but through all those years to still be so clear on what your values are and your purpose in life, I think, he's great.
What does a well-lived life look like to you?
Meaningful work, the love of your friends and family, time to do the things that are non-commercial and bring value to you, like having endeavors that are outside of work, goals outside of work.
What's a goal that you have outside of work right now?
So I had ACL surgery last year for my knee. So a goal has been running again.
Yeah.
And I just bought a pair of roller skates.
That's fun.
I have not. I'm a bit terrified. So I have a goal of being an okay person roller skating. Roller skate.
What made you want to buy roller skates?
I have a friend who I watch on Instagram and she's like, she just got a pair and then she's gotten like totally into it, like the fashion, and she goes down to like where everyone's roller skating. She has like super cool roller skates, but I don't know. It just seemed like it would be a fun challenge.
Absolutely. Yes.
For someone that's like, shouldn't probably be doing it. Like, I'm 49 years old, maybe like shouldn't be roller skating, but why not?
I love that answer. My grandmother was a competitive roller skater in the 1950s.
No way. Like a roller derby?
Like a roller skate dance, like partners ice dancing. It was like that.
Wow.
It's pretty cool.
In the 50s?
In the 50s. Yeah. She actually maybe it was probably in the late 40s. She did it with her high school and she drove out to California. They fixed up an old school bus so that they could drive all the way out to California and compete. And she was in a Billboard magazine. Here. I know. It sounds pretty cool.
I dream of getting other moms my age to go roller skate.
Yes.
Around. Who needs pickleball? Let's start roller skating.
Right. I think you need to start a roller skating dance troupe or something.
I'm not so into. For me, it's more like
the speed.
Speed. Yeah. I don't know about the finesse of dancing, but the speed would be fun. Yeah,
but the fun no matter what. I love it. What inspires you to live better?
Live better. I mean, of course, my kids. I want to demonstrate that your life can be many different things and it can change lots of different times. Like my kids.
Well, Kate, thank you so much. This was fantastic, and I really appreciate you welcoming us into your home. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. This has been so fun.
Thank you to Kate Torgersen for welcoming us. Be sure to follow along with Kate at Milk Stork and at Milk Stork Mama on Instagram. I'm Kristen Twyford, and if you enjoyed our conversation, I hope you'll subscribe to join me next time. Give us a rating and leave us a review. Make Yourself at Home is presented by Nines, household management software that helps you manage your properties and everything that comes with them. so you can make the most of your time at home. Learn more at ninesliving.com.